Your body is not a machine running on calories. It is a 7-layer energy engine encoded into your biology at birth, and right now, most of it is completely offline. You feel that. Every morning when the fatigue sits in your chest before the day even begins. Every afternoon when your focus dissolves and you cannot explain why. That drain is not weakness, it is a signal. Almost every human alive is burning on the lowest 2 levels, and the doorway to the third was quietly sealed a long time ago. There is a pattern running underneath every civilization that has ever risen and fallen on this earth. Once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. It surfaces in the temple geometry of ancient Egypt, in the Vedic understanding of the subtle body, in Taoist internal alchemy, and in a declassified United States government document from the 1980s that describes human consciousness as a holographic quantum field capable of operating far beyond ordinary biological limits. That document is the CIA Gateway Process Report, and it is sitting in the National Archives right now, available to anyone willing to look. These traditions did not arrive at the same map by coincidence. They arrived at it through direct investigation of the same territory, the territory of what the human body actually is and what it is actually capable of. Here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. This video builds. The first 2 levels we cover are going to feel familiar, maybe even uncomfortable in their familiarity. But stay with me through the entire thing, because near the end of this video there is a revelation about level 5 that will permanently alter the way you understand your own attention, your own perception, and the architecture of your nervous system. That information does not land the same way if you skip ahead. The sequence matters. The initiation has a structure. And I will say this directly. If this channel is part of your ongoing inquiry into consciousness, symbol, and the hidden curriculum of human civilization, then subscribing is not a favor to me. It is a continuation of the work you have already begun. This is a curriculum. Each episode is a layer. But right now, we start at the foundation. Because you cannot understand what was taken from you until you understand exactly where most people are permanently kept. And that place has a name. Actually, it has 2 names. And they built an entire world to keep you inside them. The first 2 levels of your energy body are chemical and reactive. Level 1 is pure metabolic survival, the conversion of food, oxygen, and glucose into cellular energy. Level 2 is the nervous system's stress response architecture, the ancient biological alarm system that floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline the moment it registers threat. These 2 layers are not flaws, they are foundational. They kept your ancestors alive on the open savanna. The problem is not that these layers exist. The problem is that for most people alive today, these 2 levels are running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without interruption, without rest, and without any awareness that something above them exists at all. What does that actually feel like from the inside? It feels like never quite being able to slow down. It feels like your mind producing a low-grade current of anxiety that you have learned to call normal. It feels like waking up already behind, already scanning for what could go wrong, already calculating threats that have not materialized. That is not a personality trait. That is a biological system that was never given the signal to switch off. Dr. Joe Dispenza has spent decades documenting what happens to the human body when it lives inside chronic stress activation. His research shows that a nervous system locked in survival mode produces what he calls incoherent heart rate variability. The electrical signals from the heart become jagged, irregular, and self-canceling. The heart and the brain stop synchronizing. And when that coherence breaks down, the body begins to consume its own available energy just to manage the internal chaos. You are not gaining energy from your food and rest. You are spending it faster than it arrives, running a deficit you can feel but cannot name. Dispenza's clinical data, drawn from thousands of participants across multiple studies, confirms something the ancient traditions encoded thousands of years before the first electrode was ever placed on a human chest. Incoherence, at the emotional level, is metabolically expensive. Your feelings are not separate from your fuel system. They are part of it. Now, here is the question that should be forming in your mind right now. If this is so obvious, if the cost of chronic stress is this measurable and this documented, why is the default structure of modern life, the alarm clocks, the commutes, the performance metrics, the financial precarity, why is all of it perfectly engineered to keep the nervous system in exactly this state? That is not an accident, and it is not a conspiracy theory. It is a design outcome. Ancient Egypt understood this. The temples of Karnak and Luxor were not monuments to vanity. Scholars including John Anthony West and R.A. Schwaller de Lubitsch spent decades demonstrating that Egyptian sacred architecture was built according to precise harmonic proportions derived from the human body and its energy centers. The geometry itself was meant to entrain the nervous system of anyone who moved through it. The temple was a tuning instrument. You walked into it operating at level 2, reactive, cortisol-soaked, survival-focused, and the proportions, the light, the resonance of the stone chambers were calibrated to shift you out of that state and into something higher. The Egyptians called this process the opening of the mouth. It was not metaphor. It was a technology of state change, encoded in stone. They knew that level 2 was a cage, and they built entire architectural systems to help people escape it, at least temporarily, at least long enough to remember that something above it existed. That knowledge did not disappear. It was absorbed, repackaged, and in many cases deliberately obscured by institutions that understood exactly what human beings become when they stop living in survival mode. A population that is not chronically stressed is a population that is very difficult to manage. This is documented not in fringe literature, but in the history of institutional power itself, in the way mystery school knowledge was classified as heresy, in the way contemplative traditions were systematically dismantled, in the way the very concept of an energy body beyond the physical was removed from the Western medical curriculum in the early 20th century, with the rise of the Flexner Report and the consolidation of pharmaceutical medicine. They did not seal the door to level 3 because it was dangerous to you. They sealed it because of what you become on the other side of it. And here is the thing they never counted on. The map survived. It survived in the Vedic texts, in the Taoist internal arts, in the writings of Manly P. Hall, in the declassified pages of a government program that accidentally confirmed everything the ancients knew. The map is still here, and what lives just above the chemical cage, what waits on the other side of that threshold, is not mysticism. It is a measurable, documentable shift in the electromagnetic field your body is already generating right now, whether you know it or not. But what that field actually is, and what it is capable of when it becomes coherent, that is what most teachers never reach, and it changes everything about how you understand your own emotional life. Stay with me. The third layer is where the game changes completely. Not because it is more complex than what came before. Actually, it is simpler, but it requires something from you that the first 2 levels never asked for. It requires that you become intentional about what you feel. And that single shift, that 1 degree of turn, separates the people who transform from the people who just cope. Here is what the researchers found. The HeartMath Institute, based in California, has spent decades doing something that sounds almost too simple to matter. They measured the heart, not just its rhythm, not just its rate, but its electromagnetic output. And what they discovered rewrites everything you were taught about where your feelings live. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field that extends several feet outside your physical body. Several feet. This is not metaphor. This is instrumented measurement. The field is real, it is detectable, and it is constantly broadcasting a signal. The question is what signal you are sending. Roland McCraty, one of the lead researchers at HeartMath, documented something that the mainstream barely acknowledged. When a person consciously generates feelings of love and genuine appreciation, not performed positivity, not forced optimism, but actual coherent emotion, the electromagnetic output of the heart changes. The waveform shifts, the signal becomes ordered, and that ordered signal does not stay inside you. It moves into the space around you, and it interacts with every biological system in its range. Other people, plants, even water. So here is the question that should be sitting in your chest right now. If your heart is always broadcasting, what has it been saying? Think about what most people are running on day to day. Cortisol from unresolved stress, dopamine loops from screens, the low-grade electromagnetic noise of a nervous system that never fully settles. That field extends several feet from your body too. That incoherent, scattered, anxious waveform is what you have been sending into every room, every relationship, every moment of stillness where something different might have been possible. Not because you are broken, because nobody told you this was happening. This is the decode move. Level 3 is not an emotion. It is a field technology. The ancient traditions knew it. The Sufi mystics built entire disciplines around the cultivation of the heart center, what they called the qalb, the seat of divine perception. They were not being poetic. They were describing a measurable phenomenon using the language available to them, the heart as a transmitter, the coherent emotional state as the frequency that unlocks reception. They built centuries of practice around learning to tune that instrument. And now the instruments in a laboratory in California are confirming what those teachers spent their lives demonstrating. Here is the civilizational example that should land this. Look at the great periods of human flourishing, the Renaissance. The Axial Age in the 6th century before the Common Era, when Buddha, Confucius, Socrates, and the Hebrew prophets were all alive simultaneously. Historians have puzzled over those convergences for generations. Why then? Why those places? What was in the water? But here is a different question. What if the field was coherent? What if enough individuals in enough proximity had achieved a level of emotional order that the collective broadcast shifted? What if civilization itself has always been, at its root, a field phenomenon? The architecture, the ritual, the music, the sacred geometry of the temples, all of it engineered to produce and sustain a coherent emotional field across thousands of people at once. That is not fantasy, that is pattern recognition, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Now here is the practical side of what this means for you. The door to level 3 is not locked by intelligence. It is not locked by discipline in the conventional sense. It is sealed by incoherence, by the unresolved emotional static that keeps the heart's signal scrambled. The practices that open it are all variations on the same mechanism. Genuine gratitude, sustained compassion, the felt sense of connection to something larger than your immediate circumstances. These are not soft suggestions. They are frequency adjustments. They are the combination to the lock. When you shift into coherent emotion, something measurable happens inside you. Your heart rate variability changes. Your nervous system shifts modes. Your brain begins to entrain to the signal your heart is producing. And the field you broadcast into the world around you becomes ordered, clear, and extraordinarily powerful. You stop being a source of noise. You become a signal. But what lives beyond that signal, what the field you are generating actually connects to when it becomes coherent, that is the territory almost no map will take you into. And the architecture of what lies above this level is more extraordinary than anything I have named so far. Keep watching. Beyond the heart's field, there is a structure, a layered antenna system built into the design of your body, confirmed by both the oldest traditions on Earth and the most recent physics. And almost nobody draws the full picture for you in one place. So let me do that now. Your brain is not operating in isolation. It never was. In 1952, physicist Winfried Otto Schumann calculated that the space between the surface of the Earth and the ionosphere acts as a resonant cavity, and that this cavity pulses at a fundamental frequency of 7.83 Hz. It became known as the Schumann resonance, and in 2002, researcher Neil Cherry published work documenting something extraordinary. The human brain entrains to this frequency. Not as a side effect, not occasionally, structurally. Your neural oscillations synchronize with the electromagnetic heartbeat of the planet itself. 7.83 Hz. That is the alpha-theta border. That is the frequency of deep relaxation, creative insight, intuitive access, and the early stages of meditative absorption. Your brain, when it quiets, does not fall into random noise. It locks onto the Earth's own signal. So here is the question. If your brain is designed to entrain to a planetary frequency, what does that make you? You are not a closed system generating thoughts in isolation. You are a receiver. You are a node in a network whose scope you have barely begun to measure. And here is what the research on coherent breathing confirms. When you slow your breath to approximately 5 to 6 cycles per minute, your heart rate variability optimizes, your brain waves shift into that alpha-theta state, and your neural architecture begins to synchronize not just internally but with the field around you. The ancient yogic traditions called this pranayama. They built entire sciences around it. They were not doing wellness, they were doing calibration. Now here is where the layers stack in a way that should stop you completely. The heart generates a torus-shaped electromagnetic field. A torus is a donut-shaped field that flows out from the center, curves around the outside, and feeds back into itself. This is not speculation. This is measurable geometry. The field your heart produces wraps around you in exactly this form. And the ancient mystery schools, from Egypt to Vedic India to the pre-Columbian Americas, encoded the torus in their sacred art constantly. The Ouroboros, the endless knot, the flower of life geometry. They were drawing the field. They were mapping what they could perceive and what we are only now confirming with magnetometers. Above the torus field, the biologist, Rupert Sheldrake, spent decades developing and defending a framework he called morphic resonance. His proposition was this: species, and even human communities, share a field of memory and pattern that is non-local. It does not live in any individual brain. It lives in the field between individuals, accumulated over time. Sheldrake was dismissed by the mainstream establishment with a ferocity that itself tells you something. But the data he compiled, the experiments on rats learning mazes faster across generations with no genetic transfer, the humans recognizing words from languages they never studied, held up under scrutiny. The field carries information, and you are both reading from it and writing to it with every coherent state you achieve. This is the decode move that ties the layers together. The antenna architecture is not a metaphor. It is a literal description of your biological design. Your breath calibrates your brain. Your brain entrains to the Earth's field. Your heart broadcasts a torus that interacts with the morphic field around you. And at the outermost layer, what the Vedic traditions called the Atman field, what the Hermetic traditions called the All, what quantum physicists are circling with terms like zero-point field and implicate order, there is a source-level signal that all of this is ultimately tuned to receive. The Hermetic axiom said it plainly 2,000 years ago: as above, so below. As within, so without. That was not philosophy. It was a technical description of nested field resonance. The mystic and the physicist are describing the same architecture from opposite ends of the same corridor. And here is what this means for you, right now, in your daily life. Every time you breathe coherently, you are tuning the antenna. Every time you sustain a genuine state of love or appreciation, you are upgrading the signal. Every time you quiet the noise of the lower levels, you are clearing the channel through which something larger than your individual mind can actually reach you. You are not separate from the universal field. You are an expression of it, designed from the beginning to participate consciously in it. What you have not yet been shown is what becomes possible once you know this. Once you stop living as a body generating occasional thoughts and start operating as a broadcast architecture running at full design specification, that realization is not coming later. It is already here, and it is yours. You were built for this. Every layer, every frequency, every field. This is your original design. And once you understand that, your energy state stops being something that happens to you. It becomes something you choose. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start being the source of the field those circumstances have to move through. If you have ever touched level 3, even briefly, even without knowing what it was, I want you to put that in the comments. Your experience of that coherent state belongs in this conversation. Your insights often add layers to my understanding, and they always add something for the person reading below you. We are going deeper from here. Sacred geometry, the neurochemistry of mystical states, the documented science of what happens when a human being actually reaches the upper levels of this architecture. That curriculum is continuing. You are not running on the wrong fuel anymore. You are remembering what you were always built to run on. You are the 7-layer engine. See you at the next level. If something in this landed, leave it in the comments. Your insight belongs in this field. And if you are continuing the initiation, the next level is already waiting for you here.